Hello flosstube, Gira80 here, or Gemma as is my actual name. So it's been a long time no see, and after promising myself that I would record at least every month, life gets in the way, as we all know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in an update. I could do it per month, but we'll only get confused, but I will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do it as and when. This could be another long video. I know I try and say that I'm going to cut it down. It's not possible, but I'm going to try and get through it regardless. So what's happened since my last update? Sorry, I'm looking at a piece of paper where I've tried to make notes and write things down. I was getting my Dragon Quaker sampler framed, and I did. And those that follow me on Instagram will see that I took a picture of it framed. I could take a picture of it on the wall, but it will just be a picture of the frame. So for those of you that don't have Instagram or don't follow me on Instagram, I have got a picture. So hopefully without the glare, it is quite big. So that's a chair that it's sitting on. I know it's really bad glare. Let me see if I can. I'm having to record from a different angle and from a different room today. I'm actually recording from my bedroom because it's a Sunday. So happy 4th of July to all my American Stitcher friends. But yeah, for yesterday obviously, but it's Sunday today, and normally this is my chill out day, which in appearance I'm going for, but it's the British Grand Prix, so of course that takes precedent over everything else. So I've decided that if I leave it any more time, every time I try and make a YouTube video, it's just not fitting in. So I thought, right, I'll come upstairs and hopefully the lighting won't be too bad as I'm on a little bit higher. So hopefully, as it's a bit of a dreary day after such a hot heat wave that for the UK is just unheard of. So yeah, it's actually quite nice to have a bit of a dull, cooler, wet day. I'm quite grateful, and I know my plants are certainly grateful for the cooler weather and a bit of rain. So that was my Dragon Quaker sampler. I'm sure a lot of you have seen, I know like some of the on Facebook, although I've only joined to one group recently, Stitch Maynia. Hi guys. But obviously from when I'm following actual companies on Facebook like Jadri Designs and those sorts, there was a post or a link going around about real stitchers don't steal, and it's more of a kind of a discussion and a thought about, you know, how there are ways that it's not that like accusing or proving that you've bought it, but like in a sense of just going, look, you know, I'm aware of the situation. You don't want to be just downloading patterns willy-nilly without kind of knowing the source to make sure that the person that's actually spent the time and effort creating these patterns don't end up going out of business. So for that reason, I mean, I'm not sure I want to take it quite so far. If I could link the blog I would, but you know me, not good, can't even edit a video, so there's no way I'm going to be doing links. You know, I do think it is something that the stitching community are very much aware of, as far as I'm aware. Like most of the videos that I watch and everything, people are very much like, oh, you know, I got this pattern from so-and-so, blah, 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 or actually so-and-so's place, or but it's also a term, but I got this pattern from this company, and you know, and that sort of thing. So I know, we all know that, you know, you need to be consciously aware that you're not illegally downloading patterns or taking patterns away from the stitching community, in a sense, because it will be us that will be affected, because not only will the designers not be able to make money and go out of business and it won't be profitable to them, and it will be us that will suffer. So it's really pointless in you know, taking things fraudulently because you think you're going to save pounds or dollars or whatever, and you will, but then you won't, because there won't be anything to, the circulation will stop of new designs and patterns, and it's just not worth it. So on that score, I did purchase this pattern, but this would also allow me to give you a close-up rather than on my phone of the actual finished design. So this was the finished, this is the pattern, so you can see this was the front cover, obviously not the actual pattern, but this is the front cover, and this is a close-up of what my actual finished stitch piece looks like. So pretty much no changes, maybe a few mistakes, but you know, that makes it mine, but no changes or anything. I kept to the colours, I kept to everything that was requested on the design, and I really enjoyed it. And I must say that the pattern's so easy to follow, so if you ever did, again, I'm going to butcher this poor person's name, if you ever did want to order any patterns from Stickideen von der Wiehenburg, then you know you'll have no problems reading the patterns, because they're some of the clearest that I've certainly seen, and they're really nice to work with. So what else did I, obviously ongoing patterns, is the box of delights. I'm doing my box of delights on a sparklies fabric, because I'm part of the Fabric of the Month club with sparklies. It's on 28 count, let me just check, it's on 28 count Brittany, yeah. So, or Lugana, I think is the other term, but yeah, 28 count that I'm doing it on, and this was the limited edition January, and as I discussed in my other video, it's Box of Delights, I am totally going with that theme. Now, there has been another release for the bottom, there's only 2 more parts, I haven't even attempted to stitch those yet, but so, but whether, I can't remember whether I've actually shown you on the last video thing, so it's been so long, so yes, obviously that was the last section, and you can see the blank bits, because the question that I kind of asked myself was that I've stitched the coloured ones in Jodery Designs Antique Silks, and I've got every single one that has been released so far, but there's obviously more blocks than that's actually been released. Now, it could be a case that she's slowly going to release more, or it could be that I just sort of start the cycle again. I haven't decided, so do you know, but on the, it's quite hard to describe, but on the sort of blank ones where there's no gold that was included, let's see if I can find it. So for example, oh, the light's terrible in here, I do apologise guys. So in my cat-candid sort of way, you know. So obviously a lot of these ones that I've done in the coloured silks, and I've added just the chocolate beads, they're the only beads that I'm adding. And then she also had some in the pattern where it's just a pattern. I opted to use a DMC colour in like a caramel colour, because I thought, well, often in a box of chocolates you'll get beautifully decorated ones in amongst some just plain looking chocolates. So I figured, well, the ones that have got or designed to have gold or metallic elements in them, I've chosen gold, but metallic elements in them or beads, I'll stitch with the silks. And the ones that are just patterns, I'll stitch, even if they're together, I'll stitch them as chocolates, because in a box of chocolates that's what sometimes you'll get that. So obviously I can do, therefore, for that reason, I can do the sort of second from last portion, stitch out all the pattern, and then just fill in the 2 blocks if there's any, because I've only briefly looked at it, if there's any just plain without metallic included or without beads, I can stitch them up, and that's what I'll do, and I'll do that next month, and then I'll decide, because then I've pretty much got it all stitched out. So then I'll decide, okay, if I do decide to sort of reverse itself and go back on itself with the colours, silks, then I can just sit there and catch up and just stitch it all. Or if there's another release, then I might go, okay, well I'll just keep putting that to one side till I can fill up all the little boxes that are left. I'm not sure. I'm in no rush to get it finished. It was a bit of a, it wasn't necessarily a planned thing. I planned to do Save the Stitches, but not even to the point of choosing a fabric or getting the supplies, but I did want to do it. And then when she released Box of Delights, then I thought, oh, that's, because as you know I have a thing about stitching foodie things, that's much more me, and so that's why I took it up, really. It wasn't so much as a heavy thought process that was going on, and I'm kind of winging it as I'm going along, but I kind of have got some mini rules. I knew I wanted to base it on the French company, patisserie company called L'Adore, and their colour scheme, that sort of shabby chic baroque style, which I've done with the fabric, which I'd already got, so that was from stash. The gold petite treasure braid I had in my stash. Obviously I'd already had quite a few of the well, all of actually the silks, Jodrey designs that I was collecting and hadn't used, so perfect opportunity to use some of, well, all of those, so from stash. And I even had the brown beads, so actually I didn't have to purchase anything. And the pattern, for those that don't know, Box of Delights pattern is a black work pattern. It's a Liz Almond pattern, and it is free. So again, very clear. She gives you lots of options, whether you coloured options or stitching it just monochromatic, and so again, fabulous lady, very talented. So yeah, so it gives you loads of options. So I've kind of had my own little plan, but nothing steadfast. It wasn't like, oh, it must be this way as such or whatever. So that's why I'm kind of, I'm not stressing myself out. I'm leaving it a little bit kind of loose. So this, hopefully you can see, is where I'm up to so far, and then there'll be two more blocks on the bottom, and then that will be it. And my plan for action on this, actually I was talking to a lady on Instagram, like yesterday, on the Friday I believe, and she was saying, do I get all my pieces framed? And actually, just by chance, that's just what's happened. Most of the pieces that I've done, I've ended up framing, but that's not because, I mean, as we all know, there's some fantastic videos about finishing projects. Tara C and Carolyn as well has given us some really good ideas about finishing and stuff. It's just I kind of know, for me, when I'm working on a project, I kind of genuinely know where it's going to go and what I'm going to be thinking about doing with it, and the more I stitch on it, I generally have a plan of action of what I'll end up doing. With this, it will probably be a decorative bed cushion, so obviously for our bed, because I haven't put it in my daughter's room. But the and then I'm probably going to finish it with, because the theme in here, it's all very neutral, but we have touches of deep purple, so being that it is a pink, I could probably back it in a deep purple and then continue with like some really heavy over the top gold tassels on the corners and things. But again, it's for me, so there's no rush to get it completed. It's not a gift or anything like that in that sense, so I will just go with the flow on that one. I think work's been really busy for me, and life's been really busy, and it's been a bit up and down as well. So you think we are meant to, this is a hobby that we enjoy, and it appears, I'm not speaking for everybody, but it appears that stitchers use it as a way of chilling out and calming down, and in a sense you do have to have some guide and some plan, but I think sometimes I might overthink and worry about, I must get that done, and I must get this done, and I must do it in this order, and then it just doesn't become a hobby anymore, and it doesn't become fun. It just becomes like a job, a chore. So yeah, so technically in my mind when the 1st of July would have come, this is generally the way I work, the 1st of July would come, I would have been like, oh, this has been released, so I must put whatever I'm working on, put it down and do this. And but what I'm working on at the moment, I don't want to put it down, so I'm not going to. I'm going to break my own rules, basically. That's what they're there for, to be broken, in my opinion. So obviously, again, for those that follow me on Instagram would have known that I finally finished my mirror sale contribution, which was the Adia garden fairy. It is nearly finished, which is hence why it's not at the framers, because I've got 4 treasures to put on it, which I don't actually have. I thought I bought all my supplies, but I think because they come in sets of 2 and I need 4, and I think it was a case of when I went to order it, I could have had 1, but then I'd have to wait like 14 days for this, and I thought, oh, I'll order them both together when they both come in, and then forgot that I needed them. But yeah, so I will be ordering those. But other than that, it is nearly finished, so hopefully with the lighting and everything you'll be able to see that she's finished. Now I've stitched this on 32 count, so that's Belfast. It's a Crafty Kitten fabric, it's mottled sage, and it is opalescent, so it does have a sparkle, but as per usual you're not likely to see that, especially on this camera. I did put the treasures on last. I did bead as I went along. That is very much dependent on the frame that you use, or these sort of factors that are going on would depend on whether I would bead as I went along. But it was so heavily beaded in the middle of the pattern, so that when I was stitching I beaded so that I knew where I was, because it was just a little bit, for me, a little bit confusing. But things like around the wings, there's loads of beading, I left that till last, and I actually just in hand stitched those. You don't need to, in my opinion. But yeah, but the very, very last was the treasures, so there's actually quite a few treasures. I'm just see if you can get out close to that. So there's some treasures there, and you've also got some crystal droplets as well. There's 5 of those hanging off this beaded banner. There's some beads at the bottom of her dress as well. As with all mirrors, they're quite Mirabilias, they're quite heavily beaded, so all this ribbon banner where the treasures are, that was all beading. The normal size 11 beads, I beaded those as I went along. The treasures I left till last. And you can hardly see them on here, they're more of they just catch every now and again, but they're like a very light blue that goes around the wings. I left these beads till last as well. But in her hair, I actually, oh look, I've got the string hair, that's it. In her hair, I actually beaded those as I went along, because again, that would have been confusing for me. Changes that I made to the chart, or the pattern, other than the fabric that was recommended, which, to be honest, is a standard and not unusual now that people pick their own fabrics. This wasn't the recommended. I've actually realised I've not brought the pattern up. I did buy the pattern, just to let you know, but I didn't bring it with me. Anyway, yeah, this wasn't the recommended fabric, obviously I chose that. Other changes that I made was not too many actually. I changed out, but this is what I tend to do anyway, as I've spoken about before. If I can find a Krennic conversion to Petite Treasure Braid by Rainbow Gallery, then I'll tend to use that. And there was one conversion where I changed it over, but if you watch any of my previous videos, I'll actually go into detail. It's moving around, see, it's having to move to a completely different room and not having any, I've had to bring my stitchy stuff with me. It just froze my little tiny brain. So I haven't brought any of that stuff with me, and I haven't got it to hand. So, but yeah, so one of the Krennics that was listed, I have swapped out for a Petite Treasure Braid, because I could, because that's what I tend to do if I can find a conversion. The other thing, there was a Krennic that was listed, And again, for those of you that follow might notice with the beady-eyed stitchers, is that on some of my Instagram pictures or whatever, there was a black outline. It would have been here because I stopped around the wings, because it wanted it to, around the wings they were all edged in this, it wasn't actually black, it was a dark green, but it looked like it was black on the fabric, and all around the wings were edged in this black, and then like a dragonfly wing, or where you get that veining, that was also in the black, and it was too heavy. That's why I stitched the bottom bit, and I'm thinking, whoa, that's like a massive contrast, and I thought, well, I'm going to leave that there, and I'm not going to stitch any more of the outline, see how I feel. And I looked at it and I thought, no, it's just not for me. So I took that out, that Krennic, and just stitched the outline. I mean, you could argue to a point that it wasn't much point me stitching with the see-through petite treasure braid as such, but I just thought it was lighter, and I just wanted it to be a bit more sorry, let's just see if I can, lighter on the fabric. So can you see the wings? Probably better on this side actually, but you can see that I've actually stitched over with the silver petite treasure braid, and I have actually stitched around all the wings as well in it. The argument being is that you'd have to look up really close to see that, but I know it's there, and I just prefer it in the silver. I just feel it's a bit lighter, that silver iridescent colour. I prefer it personally, but again, that's down to preference. So that, I would say, is probably the biggest change that I made to the pattern. Everything else is stitched as it should be, with the beads that it should be, with the treasures that it should be, with the colours that it should be, and the skin I stitched 1/1. It wasn't charted to be 1/1, so as I said I believe in my last video, if you've got your cross, which usually goes over 4 if you're stitching on linen, you would do, well, it doesn't, it goes over 9, but yeah, I stitched, so I would, for every 1 cross I did 4 stitches, if that makes sense. That's what 1/1, rather than do 1 cross with 2 threads. It was just 1/1 each time, and it does give a much more blended, refined effect. It is a preference, and it is a gigantic, for me it's not pleasurable, and it nearly killed, well, it did nearly kill my stitchy bug, which is why I ended up having, I believed I took on another little project or so, because it was monotonous, totally monotonous. But I am so pleased that I did it, and I actually, looking at the Pixie Coutures, which I know are smaller, I would possibly do it again. I probably would, but at least now I know that it's going to be a monotonous journey in that score, so I can kind of give myself a bit of a break and have a plan of action for that. But yeah, that's what her skin looks like 1/1. Don't know if you can go quite that close, but yeah, so I am really pleased with it. I'm pleased I'm not pleased with the time that it's taken, but actually that isn't the mirror's fault. That's mine and work, really, work related stuff. But I finished it actually last month, so technically it took me 6 months to do this pattern. But yeah, that's mainly work getting in the way. Boom. So yes, then on to my, it wasn't an epic fail. I was annoyed with myself because I got so excited that I'd finished my Mirabilia, that I thought, right, okay, I'm going to start something for me. I'm going to do something that I really have had my eye on for a long time, and I've owned the pattern for a long time, so, excuse me, I've owned the pattern for a long time, so it was like, yeah, let's do that, this is a real big plan. So I don't know how it's happened, I really don't. but basically what I've been trying to do is slowly kit up some of the patterns that I have, and if I've got some fabric in stash, then I've been trying to do that, inspired by Amanda's you know, stitch from stash type attitude. I thought that's good because it's so easy to hoard. Don't get me wrong, I had no problem with that, but it's so easy to hoard and then not use what you've got, and I want to try and consciously make an effort to use what I've got. So I've had some fabric, so I was working it out, and what patterns have I got? Have I got threads? And I've been slowly kitting up projects, even if I haven't started them. I've been slowly kitting them up so that I know that they're done and they're ready to go when I'm ready. So I was desperate, absolutely desperate, to start this one, and I knew this would be the one that I would be doing after I'd finished the Mirabilia, which is the Tempting Tangles creation. I'm not particularly religious. I have no problem with people that are. I actually find religion, lots of different religions, interesting, but that's not the reason. I just love the colours, and I just love this sampler. I've had my eye on it for a long time. It is the words from the book of Genesis, and it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the water, and God said, let there be light, and there was light." So yes, it's designed by Deborah Dick, and it's Tempting Tangles, under the Tempting Tangles designs, but it's called Creation. So I've had this, I think, depending on how long suffering you've been watching my videos, I've actually had this since just after Christmas or just before Christmas, so I've had it for an awful long time, but I had other things in planned, so I was going to leave it and wait until I had the time to do it. So like I said, got all my stash ready, had some fabric, so, and I had this is Annabelle, so it's 28 count Annabelle fabric. So I thought I don't want necessarily a hand dyed, I want something quite neutral in colour, creamy, you know, because I like the design the way they've got it. So they've pretty much said, you know, raw linen or just a normal linen, like, you know, that sort of colour was their recommendation, so I thought perfect. Okay. They recommended that you stitch it on anything from 30 count, blah blah blah. But this is 28, and I thought that's fine until, and I don't know how it's happened, I realised it's the wrong size fabric, so I'm not going to have enough room. It's fine lengthways, or for a 28 count for the design, it's fine lengthways, it's not fine widthways. I'm about 3 inches off, and I'm so annoyed with myself. That's such a silly mistake. It was like measure. I know that it's the first time I've actually ever made that mistake. Even as a newbie, I generally didn't make that mistake, and it annoyed me greatly. Not because I feel like, oh, I've wasted that thread, because actually this is all charted in DMC, so it's not even like it's the thread that's the issue. For the bit that I've done, that could be unpicked. So it's not even, but because of work and things are going on, my stitching time is so precious that I felt like I'd wasted it. That is what really annoyed me. So I wanted to throw it across the room. But I really love this pattern. So I thought, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to one side. I'm going to do what I don't normally do, because as you know, I kind of work on a set number and that's it. And I'm going to do another pattern, and I'm going to do something that's so completely different, because this one had speciality stitches in it and everything, and I'm thinking, oh, that'll be good, I'd like to really give this a go, and I really love the pattern, this is all great. And then I did that, and it annoyed me. So I decided to stitch something else, which I'd already had kitted up. That's the bonus of having stuff already kitted up, which I've left on the frame. I have actually got a pattern for this with me. So this is called Strawberry Shortcake, as you can see, completely different. It's very bright in colour. There's only one set of speciality stitches in it, which is just here, which is the Smyrna crosses. Just underneath those, the heart motif is just Smyrna crosses. And I wasn't particularly, a few alterations, but the colours of the actual stitches is completely as charted. I've changed the fabric. It was recommended on a yellow fabric, but I wanted something contrasting, and I already had this in stash, which is, you probably can't see it, it's actually blending into my walls, but this is like a lilac colour, a very light lilac colour. So I thought, oh, that's gonna go really nicely. I'll show you the pattern. Sorry, leaning into it. Hopefully you won't get too much clear. Oh, that's not too bad. So yeah, so obviously, as you can see, I'm kind of here. And I thought, oh yeah, that'll look really nice on a purple fabric instead. And obviously I was working on it, but the thing is, and I have, oh god, pattern, silly girl. The thing is, as well, I have actually done patterns by this designer, who is called Casey. I'd butcher this woman's name as well. Casey, just there. Buonaugurio. I've heard, only through the grapevine, that she may be stopping her patterns because of people uploading them in illegal and that's just sad, because I've already stitched her strawberry cheesecake, which I really enjoyed, and I think is so lovely. And I have actually got another pattern of hers. I've got a few patterns of hers, but I've got another pattern kitted up of hers, which is the chocolate cake one. And I would, if the others are still available, then I will slowly get those as well. But the thing is that I do enjoy her patterns, and I enjoy the colours and stuff. But I did stitch it to that far. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh, I just want to get this done so I can get to creation. I just want to get this done so I can get to do the creation one. And that's not fair, because actually that's no reflection on her pattern or the choices, or that's just me being stubborn and being like, no, I've got it wrong, so I'm not going to do it now, for like punishing the pattern, which is just silly. So I thought, no, that deserves more, so I'm going to put it down, put it to one side. I will get it done. It's nearly half done anyway. I will get it done. I'm going to do what, like I'm saying about my stitching time being precious, I'm going to do what I want to stitch. So I started attempting Tangles again. I haven't taken it off the frame because I've actually got it, it's not just on the frame, it's also on this thing, which is great, because as you can see, this is quite a long piece of fabric that I've used on the frame. I use clip frames, so they've got like these little plastic clips that hold the fabric in place on a roller frame, but this allows me, this new gizmo, this allows me to, it's for a Lowry, to move, imagine moving this frame to wherever you, so if you need to move it across, going this way, you could, to get to where you need to stitch along. So instead of kind of moving your bum or moving the frame stand along to be able to get it to stitch, you can just attach at the back. Let me try and show you, don't take notice of the back of my work. You can attach at the back, so you attach the Lowry frame here, and obviously that will hold it tight, and then your actual big frame you could move to wherever you need to use with these clamps. So it's a really good idea. So I picked this one up because I did have this in a Q-snap. Q-snaps are great. I think they're particularly suited to Adia and those sort of things. I know, because they pull it drum tight, and that's really nice. I find with linen, even with this, I mean, these frames are really good, but I always leave a little bit of give. I don't know if you can see it wobbling a little bit, because I don't know, probably the way I stitch, but I can pull it out of shape very easily. So I find that when I leave a little bit of give, I don't do that. So I don't like it drum tight, but because the fabric that I had was quite big, and obviously without this contraption to start with, it's a little bit wobbly even on the Lowry stand, so I decided that the best option for me when I see that this was out was to get this, and while I was waiting for this I would put it on a Q-snap frame. So for any of those that are watching on Instagram, you'll probably see that it looks slightly different because I had my Q-snap grime guard around it and blah, 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 at one point, but I don't really like stitching on that, not with linen, so I was pleased to get it back on the frame, and it scrunches up all your fabric as well, which slightly irritates me. So I then ironed the fabric before I put it back on the frame. So this is where I'm at now. That will be earth. It's not going to be earth. So that will be earth, but that's a different page. So, and I know it will fit because the square at the top here, that's the top of the pattern. So this one will fit, however it is smaller. It's on a 36 count Edinburgh linen, so it is a lot smaller. I could have done it on a 32, but that was a hand dyed, and although it was very mottled, I did really want to do it on a neutral, so I thought, no, I'll use the 36. I've got it in my stash, that's absolutely fine, I'll do the 36, and actually I'm really enjoying it so far, so that's all good. But it was quite interesting because you know that when you stitch on different counts, you're going to need different size fabrics. I mean, that's a given. So if you're stitching on a 28, the design that's recommended for say a 30, then you're going to need a bigger bit of fabric than what was recommended for the 30 because you're stitching larger stitches by count. So, but I thought, well, actually now I've actually done that, and it's the same pattern. So just for those of you that are, sorry, I'm going to put this down a minute, just for those of you that are interested, if I can find, okay, I'm going to fold this bit of fabric up and hopefully lay it across the frame. I know this is a bit awkward, but you know me by now, I'm just full of awkward. This is quite unwieldy. Right, so this bit here, I don't know if you can see, and the Spirit of God. So you can see the size there, and the Spirit of God. Okay. And here, can you see the and the? Can you see the size difference? Quite significant size difference. So just for those that was wondering what potentially the size difference could be, that's it. That's the difference between a 28 count, which is this one, and a 36 count, which is that one. So onto this pattern. I love it, but the pattern itself, just as a warning, it's the only Tempting Tangles one I've got, so I can't speak for all of it, and it must have been difficult, but when the designer charted this pattern, she does write in there that actually she'd made this pattern herself, for herself, and it was on the wall, and then, whether it was but a while afterwards, then decided to chart it. And that's quite, I should imagine that's quite difficult, because rather than chart something and go through a process of, oh okay, well I'm now going to do this and I'm going to put it on a chart, she just winged it, did the pattern that she really liked, was pleased with the pattern, left it, and then whether someone asked her or whatever, was then asked her to chart it, and she's got to remember how she did it before. So there are some alterations on the pattern, and I think for that reason as well, it's not particularly the easiest pattern to follow. I've had to read it, could also be me, but I've had to read it a few times because there's like additional notes, and I've had to reread those a few times. So it's not the clearest pattern I've ever worked with, but I'm getting there, so it's obviously workable, and I'm not a nuclear scientist or anything, so it's not that difficult. But there are speciality stitches involved. So at the very top, I don't know if you can see, there is my first satin stitches is in this square. Let me see. Satin stitches are in this square, so I'm really pleased with myself there. And these little medallion things here, well, that's what she calls them, these medallions, and they'll go across a little bit. They're actually just cross stitch. There is a slight ray stitch in the middle of one of them, but they're just cross stitch and back stitch, and they are taking forever. You know, you think it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes certain things just seem to take forever to get done. But yeah, so they're taking a long time, but I'm doing it page by page. So what I'll do is I will do the top page, go down and do the rest of the middle page, because I always work from the middle, if that's my next question, which is why things can look a bit odd. It's just a habit. Even if it's all graphed out, even if it's on Magic Guide Ada, I would still work from the middle, because I just can't help myself. So yeah, so obviously the God bit was in the middle, and then I've come across, and I'll go up, and then I'll scroll down, do the third page, and then I can move this along, and then each time I will do it in, because it's in 9 sections, so that each time I will go down until the end. Because then otherwise, if I go across, which is my temptation to do so, then I'll have to keep moving that frame. So it's no biggie really, but I don't know. Watch this space, I guess. What else is there to talk about? So really, that's my works in progress. I'm still doing the country cottage ornaments. I'm behind on those. Not massively, but I'm behind on those. Again, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm bored with putting too much pressure on myself. I want this to be really enjoyable, and because I don't get a lot of time to do it, I'm just going to stitch on what I want to stitch. So I did also get, sorry if you can hear this rustling really badly, I do apologise. I thought I brought that up, but obviously I didn't. Naughty me. I did get my fabric of the month from Sparklies, which was the colour Sagittarius. Awesome, because that's my star sign. I can't believe I didn't bring that up. Donut. Anyway, sorry, leaning into the camera. Yeah, so I got Sagittarius, so that was this colour of the month. So I thought I would show you my plan of action for these colours. I've used the viewer to get these. So I'm planning on doing Nora Corbett's Pixie Couture on the fabric. Now the Nora Corbett is charted as should be on 32 count. I'm doing it on a 28 count. I don't know why. I just am, I guess. But yeah, no, I've opted to do it on a 28 count. So they are smaller patterns. So this is my plan of action for the fabric. So I'm going to show you, not the pattern, I'm going to show you the Pixie Couture that I want to do on this fabric, and behind it, using the viewer, is the fabric colour from Sparklies. So this is Sagittarius background, and I'm seriously considering doing Fern Pixie on it. So all I would need would be the DMCs. I'd have to check, because I am getting this an accumulation of beads, as you do. So I'll check cross-reference to make sure that I don't already own some of the beads, and then get the pattern and stitch that on there, because I think that will be quite bright. The next one, because I already own that fabric, which is here, although it's coming up quite purpley on the picture, but this is Moonlighting. So this was the fabric of the month for April. I think I may have already shown you this one. So that's Moonlighting there by Sparklers. None of these are opalescent, and I'm okay with that. I think with all the beads and things like that, I'm fine with not stitching it on an opal. So that's Moonlighting in the fabric, and I'm going to stitch. My plan of action is to stitch Holly Pixie Couture on her. The background is coming up quite purple, but yeah. So that's my plan of action for those, and I'm kind of stitching from stash, so because they're fabrics that I already have. So yeah, I think that's going to be the end of it for now, because otherwise it's already 46 minutes. Sorry guys. So I think that's going to be the end of it for now. I am going to, infamous words, I am going to try and do a more regular update. I didn't even get to do, I planned to do the stitch tags and things, didn't do those either. I was going to tell you about my ribbon embroidery, not that I've done an awful lot there, I've done one thing, but I want to get back into that, but it's gone crazy. So at least you're kind of up to date on what's going on in my little stitchy world. So I will put links below of anyone that I've mentioned, or not links, the names to be fair, of anyone that I've mentioned, of designers and anything like that. So it should be in the box down below. Please comment if you want to ask any questions that I might not have been totally clear about. It is Sunday. Brain just wants to go to sleep on Sunday. But I hope everyone's having a fantastic stitchy time and stitchy day, and just chilling on this Sunday. Thank you to all my new subscribers. It's amazing considering that I keep leaving it long times between stitching videos, but thank you so much. Thank you as well to Stitch Maynia, the flosstube group. I know a lot of you have already joined to that, but everyone's been so nice on there, and I'm a bit of a Facebook novice anyway, just technology in general, but so I'm not 100% sure, and it's taken me all this time to join a Facebook group like where you just comment and chat and do things like that. So and I'm really pleased. Thank you so much. Very grateful, everybody. And yeah, I guess that's it. So please comment if you've got any questions. Please ask, no problems. If you like the video, please like, thumbs up, and keep posting your videos up as well. Thoroughly enjoy it. Do get a little bit behind every now and again, but I get there in the end. And I hope everyone has a fantastic stitchy time. So I will see you all later. Bye.